Greetings everyone, welcome to another E3 2018 coverage video. Today I want to talk about Spider-Man. I actually managed to get my hands on it. Thank you Sony for inviting me to their press area where I could just sit down, get my hands on it very quickly, and play a decent chunk of it too. First thing I want to say is that this is the Spider-Man dream come true. There have been previous games who have obviously made attempts at Spider-Man games, but they always felt like they were lacking something. This Spider-Man game seems to have it all. This is Insomniac, a very renowned studio, and they pulled all stops here. The web slinging, I didn't know what to expect, but it is definitely the smoothest open world web slinging experience ever made. All you do is hold R2 and then the game kind of just takes care of everything for you. It's very automatic, not so much so that it's on rails or anything. You can shift directions, you can let go whenever you want on the trigger, and that'll pull you into different heights and momentum and different direction based on where you're pointing the analog stick. But it's very simple. It's just the trigger. It's press and release in conjunction with the analog stick. And whenever you hit a building, Spider-Man will automatically start wall running, or if you let go of R2, he'll go back to regular Spider-Man style climbing. It's so incredibly smooth. I was kind of taken aback by how easy it was. They barely explained the controls to me, but it was just incredibly easy for me to just immediately get into it. And so throughout the open world, you'll find icons and quest markers scattered throughout. And I only did like 2 of them. One of them involved taking out Wilson Fisk's henchmen in this building, and it was a very cool mission because everything was so vertical. It was this structure and combat and stealth and that stuff. There are aspects of it that do resemble the Arkham games. But where Spider-Man makes this stuff really special is in the fact that there's so much traversal options with Spider-Man. So, if something goes awry, you can jump off the building and then like swing back around and just get really creative with Spider-Man's mobility and flexibility. And so the stealth stuff felt amazing. It felt like there was a lot of room for creativity. I was taking guys down on the bottom floor, and then I would swing back up, take another guy up top, and I would just kind of just let my imagination run wild in terms of how I wanted to tackle this mission, taking out these henchmen. And you could also opt to, go in there, fists in hand, and just pummel people away. And combat in this game is also incredibly smooth. There are basically 3 buttons you have to worry about. Square is basically melee attacks. Triangle is for pushing or pulling with your spiderwebs, and then circle is to dodge, and then X is to jump. And then the shoulder, with the trigger and shoulder buttons, you can access additional powers and abilities, and it all just works together so seamlessly. And the combos you can pull off in conjunction, like putting all of these things together, you create some really cinematic looking fight sequences. And you can juggle around multiple enemies, and you really just feel like Spider-Man. That's the most important thing to note about this game, is there is no Spider-Man game quite like this. There's no Spider-Man game that makes you feel so much like Spider-Man quite like this game. And so after I took out Wilson Fisk's men, I was addicted to just swinging around the city because it's so smooth and it looks so good. It's so fast, and the city just brushes past you, and the game just doesn't skip a beat. Frame rate was smooth. There was not a single frame rate drop that I noticed, at least. And, I kept exploring, and eventually I got a impromptu mission where I had to take down this boss, the Shocker, who was in the middle of a bank robbery or something, and I had to go in there, and that showed off a bit of how boss battles would work in this game. And they're not just beat 'em up type of thing. You have to sort of look around your environment, and there are strategies to taking down bosses. You do have to sort of look around the environment, see what you can use. for Shocker in particular, I couldn't touch him until I took an object and swung it around and sort of bashed him with it, threw an object at him using my web slinging abilities. So after I did that, that would free him up for attacks, and then it was that, rinse and repeat, but there were 3 stages to the boss fight, and each stage added a new twist that made it a little more difficult to do that. And that fight was so fantastic because it was a confined space. It was inside a building, inside the bank, but you could still sort of swing around, pressing and releasing R2. It was just so incredibly smooth to do that. I could just input commands whenever I wanted, and Spider-Man would react in a way that felt natural, in a way that felt badass. And then after that, the demo ended, and I was just blown away. And it turned out that throughout that whole time, the creative director of Spider-Man was sitting right next to me, and I had no idea. He was the one sort of giving me tips, and I was so focused on the game that I didn't really even notice he was there or who it was. And so after that, I asked him about what are some of these side activities you can do in this game, and there's just a lot you can really do. A lot of them are sort of challenges, like swing around, and like obstacle courses maybe, stuff like that. But other ones are genuine missions, side missions, where you'll encounter other villains, other enemies to fight. And he also described to me how there's a crafting system in the game that allows you to make new suits. So the one that comes default with the game, that's not the only suit you're going to have. You're going to be able to craft new suits, get new sort of equipment that gives you new web powers. There's so many different individual things that come together so fluidly. Fluidity is really the key word here, and that's something that's pivotal to a Spider-Man game. When you look at, Spider-Man animated series or the Spider-Man movies, everything just, that dream of smoothly flying through the city, making it seem seamless and giving you that feeling of being Spider-Man, I feel like that never was ever quite captured in past games. But this is Spider-Man with a AAA budget, with a AAA team, very talented developers, and the results speak for themselves. This is a game that I'll definitely be getting come September, and I highly recommend you check this out. It's the best Spider-Man game ever made. It's set to be your dream come true of being Spider-Man. Anyway, those are my impressions of the Spider-Man game for PS4, coming in just a couple months. Let me know in the comments below if you have any questions. Oh man, one of the best games of the show, and I think one of the best games of the year. I'm pretty sure it's going to be one of the best games of the year, and Sony's just on a roll with these phenomenal releases. Anyway, with that, I would like to end this news update and report. Thank you for tuning in. Look forward to more E3 coverage, and to be further updated on all things gaming news, reviews, and discussions, stay tuned right here on Young Yeah. I'll see you guys next time. Young out.